Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Deep Dive Haunts. This is episode 18. Today, us three ladies are going to talk about our investigation not that long ago at the Haunted Commercial Hotel in Osceola, Missouri. This episode is recorded because we're on an investigation when this airs. So if you guys are watching it and you have any questions, you can ask in the comments. We will go back and answer any of the questions there. But anyway, we're joined by Misty and Kathy because we were the three that ventured out to the Haunted Commercial Hotel. Say hello, ladies.
Hello.
Hi.
So we ventured out on May 23rd to this location. On our way down there, we ran into a severe storm on the closer we got. Kudos and shout out to Misty because she hates storms, but she braved it and she drove anyway. I have a picture to prove it.
With our hazards on too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was downpouring. We saw a huge lightning bolt um, that touched down over to our right. So yeah, it was kind of spooky. It was kind of spooky. Um, but anyway, we drove to Osceola. It was about a 5 hour drive for us to get there, 4.5, something like that. Um, we got to the hotel. We talked to Teresa, who is one of the owners. She is amazing. She gave us a deep dive history tour and how the rooms got named and all of that stuff. It was pretty cool. Um, some of us already had in our minds which rooms we were staying in. Um, while they all claimed to be active, I was pulled to stay in the Sally Rand. Rob, Teresa's husband, the other owner, had an experience in there. He's like, go read about it. I chose not to read about it. I wanted to get any and all experiences in there without being prompted of what had happened. I did read what had happened prior to going to sleep. That was a crazy, insane experience that he had. I myself didn't have any experiences in there, which is quite okay, because sometimes, um, those things are, you know, some are once in a lifetime experiences, other times, other things come back. Um, and I don't know why I was drawn to her room. It was just when he was rattling off the rooms, I'm like, oh, that's the room I'm going to stay in. And so that was the room that I did actually stay in. I did do a little video before I went to bed, the room that I was staying in and stuff. Kathy, why didn't you tell us the room you chose and why you chose that room?
Um, I don't know. I've always um liked the history of the Cowboys, and I chose the Tom Mix room. Um, I just have always found him interesting, and he was a movie actor. I just felt comfortable in his room. He was connected in friendship to Wyatt Earp, and there's a lot of cowboy history behind him. There was like this really cool, like old steamer trunk and a saddle in there. I just like the history of that, and the saddle and the steamer trunk I'm pretty sure are authentic. And I did run my camera through the night. I didn't pick up anything. I felt pretty comfortable up there. When I first lay down on the bed, I felt kind of like some stabbing in my side. I'm not sure what that was. I mean, it could have been something or it could have been nothing. And but it subsided. So I don't know if it was anything trying to get my attention, or if it was just, from being sometimes when you're on your feet all night and you're running up and down stairs or whatever, but yeah, so that was kind of interesting though, because I never felt that kind of stabbing in my side before, and I haven't since. So I don't know if it was just, hey, hey, hey. Oh, but it was interesting. But I mean, I slept well in there, and it was comfortable. So yeah, yeah. Well, that's
Misty,
it for, yeah. And I did do a video of it earlier in the night just to share with everybody. Oh,
Mm-hmm. I know. I just missed the video. I saw you videoing yourself that night.
yeah, yeah. I'm
The
gonna try to
room
make a
was very
habit of
awesome.
that. That's gonna be one of my commitments or my goals, is to try to do a little video too. You know. Oh.
It's good to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Misty, what room did you choose and why?
I chose the Jesse James room. Mostly just because my dad's love of those kind of gangsters and stuff. So I was like, I gotta choose it just for that. And I like Jesse James lore anyway. So they told me about how when Jesse stayed there, he would hitch his horse to a tree that was right outside the window, and he'd watch the courthouse and jump out of the window and ride off. So I was like, "Ooh, wouldn't it be interesting if anything does happen, around that area?" So I was like, "Well, I wouldn't mind trying to see if something does happen in the room." So mostly it was just because I had that connection of listening to stories from when I was little and knowing a little bit because it's not far from where I lived growing up in Kansas, because it's just right over in Independence where he was raised. So a little connection. I wanted to try it. So that's the reason why I stayed in that room.
I think that's cool. It really is cool.
And it was a very beautiful room what they've done with it. And I know they said it used to be two rooms and they made it into one room, but it was a very beautiful room.
Yeah, the Jesse James suite is beautiful. Um,
Mhm.
her and Kathy had big rooms. I had a smaller room, but
Yeah.
it was quite all right.
You
I had a
guys had
jacuzzi in
bathtubs.
my room.
Yeah. I had a real bathroom with a shower.
I had I had a toilet and a sink, but there was a shower room up there, which is really neat when you think about it. It
They
is
are
a pretty
cool.
cool area. It is a cool
Yeah,
setup. If you ever get a chance to
yeah,
go up there, you gotta try going through the whole place.
Yes, it's a beautiful place.
yeah,
Oh.
that's the cool thing about the commercial hotel. So while there's a couple rooms on the first floor, which is the Tom Mix room and the Sally Rand room, that have their own full bathrooms. Upstairs is kind of like it was back in the day, where there was one old bathroom where the bathtub would have been. It is now a shower room, but it's a communal. And all of the rooms
Mm-hmm.
upstairs have what are called water closets. So, legitimately, what they did was they took a closet and they put a toilet in there, and it's called a water closet. And then everybody that is up there shares the shower room, um, which dates back to the history in it, which it was really cool in itself. Um, and all of the rooms are available to actually go and stay. Um, Kind of like a Airbnb, I guess you would. I mean, it is kind of like a hotel. There is one, two, three, four, five, six, um, and
Mm-hmm.
it was really interesting. Um, the tour, like I said, it was amazing. We found out a
Hmm.
lot of stuff. There is one area though where they still have the original wallpaper in it. The wallpaper has cracks and stuff in it, but they can't find themselves to take it down and replace it. But I think that gives the location so much more character. One, because it is original, and two, you can just see how old it is by all of
Yeah.
the cracking, the splits in it and stuff like that. So that was a really really cool. Up in the Jesse James suite, there is photos up on the wall of Jesse James. There is one of Jesse James um, died. They have a picture of that up there on the wall as well. Um, and then a picture of his original homestead where him and Frank grew up. In the main hallway downstairs, there are pictures of people who had came and stayed there. Um, Carolyn Grimes, who played Zuzu on It's a Wonderful Life, she actually has her own suite. She has been there numerous times. Still goes there today because she's still kicking it. And she has donated some pictures and stuff over the years. Was it President Truman?
Yeah.
Yes.
Was that the president that stayed there?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then there's a picture of the original courthouse. And the parlor is beautiful. Um, I don't know. Where do we want to actually start at with our investigation? I guess we kind of, we asked her if she wanted to come investigate with us for a little bit.
Hmm.
So we brought her in, and Lisa always called her Maggie. There is a former hotel worker. Her name was Margaret Ann. Um, she is still very prominent in the hotel. She will let you know that she is there. Um, when we went into her room on the tour, we stepped through the threshold, and I was like, "Oh, like instant chest pain for me." But I didn't say anything. I was like, I'm just gonna like go with the flow of everything. And then Misty walked in, and then Kathy walked in. And I'm going to let Kathy talk a little bit about what she was feeling, but it validated my feelings even though I didn't say anything. What was
Well,
the initial feeling in Margaret's room with that threshold? Because you didn't stay quiet. You were instantly like, hey,
yeah, yeah. I think we went in there twice, but that first time um with Teresa, it was just like it felt like stale air, warm stale air, and it hit me, and it was like a big heavy blanket and like very unwelcoming feeling. And and we went in and we did um some stuff there, I think with the dead bowl and stuff with Teresa. But the second, do you want me to talk about the second time that we went up
well,
there
no,
when it was just the three of
I'm,
us? Or
I'm asking when we were on the tour in the very beginning
yeah,
and we
that
stepped in there,
was
you were like, yeah,
it was very, yeah, it felt very stagnant and heavy. You had to catch your breath when you first walked in. Very unwelcoming. I think she was like, "Who are you? Why are you here?" I She really likes her privacy in there. It felt I felt it wasn't really dark yet during that time of the day, but it felt dark to me. It was like a blanket, a heavy blanket, and I couldn't catch my breath and just very stagnant, warm, unwelcome, not warm like a warm welcoming. It was more of a catch my breath. I'm under a dark, something dark, and I don't want you in here. So that's how it felt to me. Like was being pushed out. Oh,
Misty, how did you feel on the tour walking in here? Because I know it affected all of us.
Yeah, well, it felt like I got told, get out of this room. This is not for you. This is employees only kind of deal.
yeah.
Honestly, it felt like I was in the wrong room and I was getting kind of getting told off. And not in words. So just you walked in, and usually when I feel like that, it's one of those things where I'll feel like there's a wall and I can't go any further, and I'll like try to
Exactly.
even take a step back. And
Hmm.
I've had that at Beatty and stuff before, so I know that feeling. It's when you're just not welcome, and we were not welcome at that time or
No.
any other time that night either. To be
I think
honest,
So yeah.
I asked her, did go in, I did accomplish to get in there. And I did ask her, Margaret, at one point, can I sit on your bed? And she hit that dead bell twice. That was a big no. Do not sit on my bed. I'm like, okay. But it was very unwelcoming for me the whole time. I was in there. We made it through the first. I made it through the first visit in there. I think just because Teresa was with us. Otherwise,
Mhm.
yeah, she would have kicked me out, like
So
all the way out.
fast, so fast forwarding to that section when we had Teresa with us, we went in there. I don't know what it was, but I made it a point to knock on the door before I ever went in her room. I knocked and I was like, "Hi, Margaret." I'm like, "We're gonna come in and turn the dead bell on," and instantly that thing was going bing, 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 bing. Like she was not having any of it, but we stayed in
Right.
there. And we, my goal of the night, because like I said, Teresa was calling her Maggie. And her husband goes, maybe she don't like to be called Maggie. Maybe she likes
Hmm.
Margaret. So I almost wonder if he's heard that without actually saying or admitting that he's heard that, like, but I don't know.
it's
I
like
can't speak for him,
intuition.
and he's not here.
Right.
Yeah. So we're gonna try to find out tonight if she likes to be called Maggie. And so, as we're in there, we're letting Teresa ask questions. And during the whole time, like I said, the dead bell was just dinging with annoyance. Um, and so I said, "Do you like to be called?" Um, well, I had asked her if she would stop ringing the bell, and she did. And I said, "We can have you answer questions. Ding it once for yes, twice for no." And then it went back into that annoying ding, 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 ding. Um, and so I was like, I will shut the bell off. Like, if you won't use it to communicate the right way, I will shut it off. So then she stopped. And I said, "Do you like to be called Maggie?" And it goes ding, ding, ding. So we're kind of like, is that a I don't know answer or I don't care? Like, we don't know because we've never deciphered what three bells is or three
Mhm.
dings are. Um,
Yeah.
but we were in there for a little bit, and it kind of like it didn't seem like we were getting the answer that we were wanting. And so then um, I did end up shutting the bell off. Um, and we stayed in there for a little bit longer. And then we went over into Carolyn's room. And we got, I turned the dead bell back on, and that was almost like it was another annoying ding, ding, ding. It's almost like Margaret followed us in there. Um, like I don't know what y'all are doing, but this is not right type of thing. Um, it was never, it was never a mean thing, like run us out of there type thing. It wasn't that. It was more of like, now you guys are in this room and you're gonna mess it up, and like, why are you guys just doing this? Um,
Yeah.
so then
Following
after
us around.
being in there
She
for
was. She was. I think she was
yeah,
watching us.
and so after being in there, mhm, for sure, for sure. And I didn't have my AVP recorder, and um, we needed to charge up and stuff like that. So we went back downstairs and we were talking to Teresa a little bit, and then she left. Um, and then we decided after we got things charged up and everything, because I don't know if you guys have ever been down in team members when you go on an investigation. Sometimes your head's just not in the right space and you forget about everything. Like we were in there and I'm
It
like,
throws you
I don't
off.
even know what to do at this point. I think we went. I think we did a
Yeah.
Facebook Live, and I said, I don't even know what I'm doing at this point. And it was because we only had 3 members. Like I didn't remember my EVP recorder, and and it was just other stuff. So we went downstairs, we recharged all of our stuff. I grabbed my EVP recorder and things like that, and we went upstairs and we sat in the hallway. Um, and we were spread out along the hallway. Um, Misty, we did go live for that as well. Misty did Estes session, um, and I'll let her talk about her Estes session and what she was feeling. I will say it went crooked and sideways in a quick fast hurry. I don't even think your session was 12 minutes. Um,
Mhm.
Going back and watching the recordings of that. So um, we'll go back and we'll talk about that. I'll let you talk about what you were experiencing during that Estes session, because I want to say we were trying to connect with Margaret, but I don't even think we did. I think what you encountered during your Estes session, there was another lady's name that came up. Go ahead and talk about it, and I will see if I can find whose name that
Okay.
actually was.
Um, so, you know, going into it, I didn't know what to expect. I was just listening to I didn't hear a lot at first, and I was just kind of getting into the moment and the headspace, and then I started getting kind of flashes and stuff, and it was mostly a very violent encounter. It felt like an encounter from a man that was grabbing a hold of a woman and hitting her, and it felt very quick and violent, and it threw me off. And that's the reason why I pulled out the Estes as fast as I did, because um, it got too violent for me, honestly. I didn't know where it was going, and I don't quite even remember much of what I was even saying at the time, because I was so in the moment of that it wasn't registering with me.
Mhm.
It was just more of the experience that I was experiencing, and honestly, it was a bit much with the red goggles, because it where I was sitting, I was looking down the staircase into this open window that has like bars on it, and the fan was going, and that was really not something you want to see when you're having like those kind of flashbacks, because it was just so intense with the red and that going on. And I literally, it kind of threw me in a vision of what was going on, and that's when I was like, I can't do this, because it's not only hearing it and kind of feeling it, it was seeing it too. And like I've never been in an abusive situation like that, so I have no idea what that person would have felt like, but it scared me. I was like, I can't do it. I can't be in that headspace and like experience this, because I don't feel like that was for me to really experience and tell it online while it was happening. So that was another reason why I pulled
Right,
it off, because I felt uncomfortable exposing whatever might have been going on through that vision. If that
right.
makes
Yeah.
sense.
Um,
Yeah.
with that, it was really interesting because she was sitting on the bench, and then as this stuff was happening, she sat up and she turned, and like it was like she really was seeing it happen. And
Mhm.
then yeah, it just made her super uncomfortable, and she was like, no, 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 that type of thing. And um, it it was a crazy little experience for her. And then we went down um, we went down to the other end of the hallway where Kathy decided to do the Estes. Um, and she was talking about right before we started this podcast that she doesn't remember what was happening. So I'm trying to remember what was happening as well. I know she scolded us a few times. I think we got shushed a few times. Misty, do you
I
remember
even
other things
shushed
she
you.
was saying?
Yeah. The
I
more
think
I
we both
do
had to
Yeah.
shush.
the more I do the Estes methods, learning how to do these more, I'm starting to see as well. I can see every now and then it's like whatever the most prominent figure is, like in my mind's eye, is what I am calling it. They kind of come out more, and I can kind of
Hmm.
visualize what they kind of look like. And so the one, so I did kind of review the Estes. I can never remember what I say or what I do unless somebody records me and I can watch it. But like on my device and in my review time. But so it, she's in a mist, so she's foggy, but I can see her. And it was a woman, and she kept saying, I think she was saying to stop it, and she was shushing. And I'm actually going through the motions because I'm seeing her do this, and going shh, shh. And so I'm doing that because I'm just mimicking what she's doing. But there was a lot of like chatter and commotion. I didn't stay with it as long either is what I was hoping to stay under with it, because it was a lot of, I could hear a lot of commotion, almost like you're in a busy place. So, I guess from whatever time I'm listening to, maybe they probably had their saloon down there, their gambling, their restaurant. So it was like that when you're in a busy location. And so I didn't stay with it very long, but long enough to get her, telling us to stop and but I don't know what else was being kind of said through that, but that was what really stuck out with me when I was doing the Estes. So yeah. And I'm pretty sure it was probably Margaret, because maybe she was saying they're sleeping up here, or I like it quiet. She apparently, her story is that she wanted her room to be a quiet place for her to be. So, but it was odd, but yeah, so I was at one end of the hall when I did mine, Misty's at the other end of the hall, and we're picking up different things. So, I'm imagining in those rooms possibly, or in that part of the hall, that that type of history maybe had happened, and Misty caught that, where there was somebody, a man and a woman up there fighting, or who knows what, at certain periods of time, where there's some saloon girls there. I don't know. So yeah. It was interesting what you got from different ends of the hall, though.
For sure, for sure. I actually we went back into Margaret's room, um, and I did my Estes session in there. And that's when Kathy was like, "Can we sit on your bed?" And Missy's like, "Yeah, we're old, so we need to sit down." And like I said, every time I went into the room, I would knock on the door, even when I was down. I did a walkthrough. These guys had left to go get pizza for us to eat, and I stayed there and I did a walkthrough video. And I even like every time I went in that room, I don't know, I just felt I needed to knock, like to be respectful or whatever. So I did actually sit on the bed, um, but I wasn't picking up a lot of anything except for a loud squealing, screeching noise. It was crazy. And I watched the Facebook Live from it, and you can hear it on that recording. You can hear it
Hmm.
screeching from my headphones. It was insane. But
I kept
I mean,
thinking I
that
was
was
hearing
about
the
it. I didn't
dog.
get a lot. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I remember you saying that. You're like, I hear a dog. You're like, Kathy, I hear a dog. And I even commented, I'm like, that's not a dog. Like that was that squeal that I was
Yeah.
hearing in my ears.
Hmm.
After you took it
It
off, you
was
could hear it.
crazy.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. Um, but yeah, Kathy, talk a little bit about when we went back in for me to do the Estes, how you
Right.
felt and what ended
Um,
up happening.
well, I didn't end up staying in there very long. I got as far as the rooms are kind of small up there, but they're really, they're really cool rooms. The beds and stuff are kind of true to period time. But there, there is a modernizer, there's a sink in there and stuff, and so that's kind of just, maybe what, a foot or two away from when you come in from the door, and I go as far as the sink, and Brenda's getting ready to do her Estes, and Misty's on in there too, next to Brenda, and the mirror caught my eye, and I was looking in the mirror, and I can't even remember what I said about the mirror, but I was looking in the mirror, and all of a sudden, um, I felt like everything whooshed, and I got really dizzy, and I felt very unwelcome. Like, she honestly, I don't know if it was the mirror, or if Margaret was like, kind of like, oh, I don't want you in here. And I remember I said, I need to step out, and I said, because I'm so dizzy. I got out in the hall, and my stomach took a flip too, and it was just, it wasn't very long, it was just briefly, but it was like, I feel like maybe I might lose my stomach, so I'm going to have to sit out here and, get composure, because it was just not a good feeling. And I was like, okay, Margaret doesn't want me in her room. And I was like, maybe it was because of the comment earlier with me asking if I could sit on her bed. I don't know. But for some reason, she didn't like me. Oh, I don't know. But I'm sure it's not that she didn't like me. It was just maybe too many in a room at once. And I, came in after, and but yeah, it was just a very unwelcoming feeling. And I feel bad. And I tried to be very respectful to her all night. So I don't know. But I
Yeah.
guess you're gonna have those things some places.
I
Yeah.
know when we were first getting there and stuff, we had brought all of our stuff in. And I went to go into the room that I was staying in. And as I approached the doorway and walked through, it was like somebody turned around and looked at me like, "What are you doing in here? This room isn't ready." Like, and that was the feeling that I got. And I had actually was telling Misty about it, and I said, "Just walk down the hallway and like step in there and see what you feel." And she said that she didn't even have to step in the room. Like she got back there by that room, and she was like, "Yep, nope, not supposed to be in there." Um,
Yeah.
so I do wholeheartedly believe that Margaret Ann is there. She is the keeper of the place, and
Mhm.
she loves to make it known that she is there, and she is going to make you realize that she is there. I think she would be an awesome entity to get more information from because I'm sure she has seen a lot. Uh,
Mhm.
You just gotta get her to like you.
yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah.
agree. I see her as a kind of a, just very, she's businesslike, she's
Yeah.
stern, and she knows what she wants, and if she's not going to have something, she's not going to have
Mhm.
it. That's how I see her and feel. That's the feeling I have from her. So, and actually, at one point during the night, I even said to Brenda, I said, I almost feel like changing rooms for the night, the room I'm going to sleep in, and sleep in Margaret Ann's room. And you kind of looked like me at me like, say what? And but then I didn't, but maybe if we go back next time, I almost felt like maybe I might get something on recording, overnight, as I'm trying to sleep, maybe I wouldn't have had such a good sleep like I did in Tom's room. I don't know.
We did
you know,
we
so
did
maybe
go
next
through
time.
maybe we did go through with the SLS cameras, seeing if we could capture anything. We did capture a figure in the Jesse James suite. That video has been posted. Um, and so we did catch a figure in there briefly. I said, "Can you wave at us?" And it raises an arm and it waves, which was totally cool. Um, Misty, I forgot about this. After the tour, while we were on the tour, talk about what you experienced on the stairs. Before you do, I want to tell everybody that um, the banister of the stairs is original. Like, it's original.
Beautiful.
So you have to stop to think about how many people had gone up and down the stairs and has used the railing or whatever, like who all has touched that railing. But talk about the experience that you had with what you saw on the stairs.
So, and she was talking a little bit about the pictures and stuff, and I was standing, I think, by the railing, and I was looking up the railing, and I got a moment where I saw, again, the best way to put it's your mind's eye of seeing somebody just standing there and seeing him dressed up like in pants, not jeans or anything, but like black pants,
Hmm.
a shirt that was without a collar, and like a vest. And he was just like coming down the stairs and stopped for a second, like did a double take of like, who are you and what are you doing here? And I was just like, and who are you?
Yeah.
Literally, it was like just I don't know the best way to explain it. It just that was the way I saw the person just stop there and look at me like I don't know who you are, but they look like they were about to go out and have a nice night of gambling or something. Honestly, he just looked like he was kind of leisurely walking about. So I don't know. I don't know who it was or who it could have been, but yeah, it was interesting.
Yeah, that was a really cool thing. Okay, so after we were done in Margaret Ann's room, we were sitting in the hallway, and there's a room up there. It's called the dam room, and it talks about the big dam that's out near there and all of that stuff. And it's one of those uh, two individual rooms made into a big room. Um, and Misty wasn't getting a good vibe from in there, and I said, "Well, are you ready to go in there? We'll just go in there and we'll figure it out." And when we went in there, it was crazy. Like, the activity was crazy. We had 2K2 meters set up, um, and the camera and stuff. And the K2 meters were pegging red. Like, it was just insane. And then Misty was working with them, and she's like, dial it back, take it to green, calm down. And they both would go to green. It was so weird.
Yeah.
Um, and so that's how we got them to answer the question, was by doing spikes on the K2 meters. And
Hmm.
it wasn't just one K2 meter that was spiking, they both were spiking. Um,
Yeah, they were like in tandem, which was really weird.
mhm.
But it worked just to calm it down and pull it in, and it slowly pulled out and went to green and stayed that way for a while, and then we'd ask another question and pop back right up to red again.
Yeah, it was almost like they were super excited to have somebody in there to talk to them.
Yeah.
Mhm.
We had gotten several names. We had gotten a Mildred and a Ronald, a
Yeah.
Draco. There was a Draco. And
Draco.
so we were asking all these questions, and then, like, oh, is this Ronald? And it would like spike to red, and we were like, okay. And then, like, is this Mildred? And it was spiked to red. And then I don't remember, somebody asked, are you joking with us? And it spiked to red. So we honestly don't know who we
Yeah.
were talking to in there. They were just loving the fact that there was somebody in there talking to
Yeah.
them. Um, it was crazy. There was like it was a lot. Like out of all of the rooms that were upstairs, that was the room where we actually had. I think that we can say we had the most activity in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely.
Um,
Yeah,
anything else about that room that sticks out to you guys?
just Draco's an unusual name. I wondering, they were kind of being jokesters, so I kind of wonder
Yeah.
what,
They were.
yeah, what they were, if that was really a person or if he was, I don't know.
Well, I do think they were messing with us a little bit because I mean, we we have no real way of getting a true and honest name from them, so they could be saying yes or no to anything.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
And more likely, yeah, if you were gone when you want to mess with the living just a little bit, I think I
yeah,
would.
yeah. I mean, they were like, let's set these lights off and let's go crazy with these
These
lights,
people
you
are,
know.
or they're like thinking these people are really gullible. We'll mess with them for a while here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we got the name Mary, Mildred, Ronald, Draco, Edith, and Leonard, all in that room. Um,
Unless they had
so
something to do with work, something about the dam, maybe they had something to do with that.
maybe. So we got told to watch what I do, and we're like, "What are you gonna do?" Like we were waiting. Um, it, yeah, it was crazy. They did ask about our lights. Um, and then at one point it says, "Want to know the truth?" And we're like, "Yeah, we do want to know the truth," but
Talk to us.
we never got the
Get
answers
much.
to the truth. So it was crazy, but um, yeah. So it was interesting to say the least. We went downstairs and we hung out in the parlor, and I dug out my dowsing rods because I'm like, we're gonna see if we can get them to talk to us this way. And upon reviewing my footage, my microphone wasn't working. So I'm
Yeah.
hoping that somebody else has footage from that we'll be able to share in
I
um,
think I have some. I got to go back through. Yeah.
I
in
think mine was charging.
in our episode. So I'm hoping that we can get it because that the dowsing rod sessions was amazing. So I'm sitting there and I'm like, we would like to call on Margaret Ann. Would you please come forward? And I said, if you're here, so for me, when I use my dowsing rods, crossing is yes, staying straight is no. And I said, if you're here, can you make them cross? And they crossed. And I was like, that's awesome. And I said, um, can you point to what direction you are? And both of them went towards the doorway.
Hmm.
And I said, okay. I said, so is that where you're at? And they crossed. And so we were talking and we were asking her questions, like, do you like working here? They would cross yes. And then like a bunch of different things. And I said, I'm going to ask you one final time because throughout the night I kept asking and we were not getting any answers. And I said, do you like to be called a Maggie? And I said, this is the last time I'm going to ask. And they stayed straight. So she did not like to be called Maggie. So I made sure that we let Teresa know that. I'm like, according to our dowsing rod session, and she did not. She doesn't like to be called Maggie. She likes to be called Margaret.
No.
Um, and all night I called her Margaret. Um,
Hmm.
like I just kept referring to her as Margaret um, and stuff like that. So while we were also in Carolyn's room doing the live, um, I believe it was Laura from Patriot Paranormal had mentioned an entity named Birdie. Um, and so while we were doing the dowsing rod sessions, I'm like, I'm going to see if I can pull Birdie in and see if we can get Birdie to talk to us. We did. Birdie answered. She was answering yes and no, and we had asked questions like, "Did you and Margaret?" We're like, "Are you and Margaret besties?" And they crossed for yes. And I think I said, "Were you friends in real life?" And they stayed no. And so then Misty said, "Did you meet after Fate?" And they crossed for yes. Um, Fast forwarding to the next morning when they were out talking to Teresa, Birdie was actually a cook in the basement at the restaurant that was down below. And she had told us she had blonde hair. Um, but what Teresa had found out was Birdie was actually a black cook. And for the time, they didn't intermingle. So all of the black people that worked in the restaurant stayed downstairs and they didn't come upstairs to the hotel, which also validated the fact that Birdie and Margaret became friends after death. And we also did learn that cross the dowsing rods that Birdie stays in Margaret Ann's room with Margaret. And they are like the biggest besties ever. They watch out for each other. Um, and so that was cool. What else do you guys remember asking those two ladies?
Um,
Itself.
well, I remember we something about rocking chair. Margaret wanted a rocking chair
Yeah.
back put back in her room. The rocking chair she originally had in her room was too big, so they had moved it out because there wasn't enough space for anybody to move around. And so we had asked that in the parlor where we're sitting, alongside the fireplace, there's two rockers. So one is small and one is larger. And we asked during the dowsing session to that we would, well, we told her we would let Teresa know that she wants a rocker. And I think it was like, which one of these would you want? Because she had said she had to move a larger one out. And she took your dowsing rods and she pointed them all the way over to the smallest rocker.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So in the morning when we were sitting outside talking to Teresa, we told her, well, we want you to know that Margaret has made it known that she would like that small rocker put up in her room. So Teresa was kind of surprised by it, but she thought it was funny too. And she said, okay, she said, Margaret will get the small rocker. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That was interesting. Misty, do you remember anything?
Um, yeah, I can't think of anything off the top of my head besides what she's talking about. We asked so many questions. We did talk to what we believe is a guy that
Yeah,
we,
we'll get to that one in a minute.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
We'll get to George. So anyway, I held the dowsing rods out, and I'm like, "Can you spin them?" Well, one would start spinning, and then the other one would start spinning. And I did that with Margaret Ann before I pulled in Birdie, and she did it. And I said, "Can you make them go the other way?" And she would reverse them the other way. And then Birdie, I didn't even ask Birdie about it, but all of a sudden it started spinning. So I'm holding him out,
Mhm.
kind of like you can't see it, but like I had them like this, where they were um, not even with each other. And I said, Birdie, spin one way. And I said, Margaret Ann, spin the other one. And so they were both spinning. And I said, spin them back the other way. And they both stopped and they both had them synchronized. And they were just going back and forth and just like crazy. They were having fun with the dowsing rods for sure. Yes. Then when I first took the SLS camera out, I was focused on Misty, and off to the side was a small stick figure. We didn't get that one on recording, but there was a stick figure off to the side. And I said, Misty, I said, there's somebody standing by you. And what did you feel?
It felt like somebody was like patting the top of my head. It felt like somebody was behind me and patting, like,
Yeah.
and I was saying it feels like somebody's rubbing down my scalp and down my back. It's kind of creeping me out. And she's like, "Well, guess what they're doing?"
That's right.
Mhm.
I
Yeah,
was like, "I guess it's payback for that bat," you know.
it, it,
Oh.
it was quite the experience. So then so I made a comment. I with the dowsing rods out. I said, um, there was a spirit earlier by um, Misty, and I said I think I actually even asked if um, because I said there was a Misty saw somebody on the stairs, and I said if you're here, can you make him cross? Well, my dowsing rods crossed again, and then she ended up getting the name George, and so I had him straighten him back out, and I said, "Is your name George?" Well, they crossed. Then we started talking to George. I had asked several questions. Um, oh no, I guess George came across first because I said, "Are you the guy
Mhm.
that Misty saw on the stairs?" And they crossed for yes. And then
Hmm.
I asked if George was the stick figure that we saw in Jesse James's suite, and they crossed for yes again. What? Go ahead, Misty. What was you gonna talk about George?
Oh, just that we started getting earlier. We heard an eye come out of wasn't it the spirit box or something? And we brought it up because it sounded like it was very Irish sounding. It was the portal box, right?
Yeah,
And
Mhm.
so
Yes.
I
necrometer,
was like,
necrosonic.
yeah, I said, "Are you Irish?" And it crossed again, and we started asking questions, and we realized he was kind of messing with us a little bit. I think, in kind of conclusion, we think that George is actually the one that was in the damn room messing with us a little bit. I think just a little bit because we were asking, "Are you joking with us?" And it was like, "Yes." And I'm like, so if anything, I think whoever's that spirit is probably the same spirit that was upstairs with us, and it just kind of following us around and messing with us all night.
Mhm.
But yeah, he seemed very much wanting to interact with us
Yes.
and annoy me apparently.
Yeah. So I remember we were asking questions, and um, I don't know. I think I had said something about, "Do you like the ladies?" Or I don't remember what it was, but after I said, "Were you the spirit that we saw in Jesse James's suite?" and across for yes, I said, "Okay." I said, "Are you going to watch Misty sleep tonight?" Man, they crossed so fast. It did not take any energy at all. They were just like, boom, like, yeah. And I said, "Okay." I said, "Here's the interesting question. Are you going to get in bed and sleep with Misty?" And they instantly crossed so fast. Again, they were like, yes. And I was like, "Oh my God." I'm like, "I love
Misty.
you, George. This is so great." And I said, "Are you joking with us?" And he crossed them again for yes. So it was kind of like he,
A
he
weird form of ghost flirting.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
almost like he's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna get in bed with Misty, da 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 da." But then, he was like, "No, I'm never really do that." Well, when they were talking about it to Teresa the next day, she goes, "It's really funny because people actually get pinched on the bum in the bed in the Jesse James's suite."
Mhm.
So I'm like, "Oh my gosh!" Again, that's validation about this entity. Um, it, it
Well,
it was funny.
we asked Margaret to watch over me though and make
Yeah,
sure he didn't pinch my butt.
yeah, yeah.
Well, we didn't know about the butt pitching at that time, but we were like,
No.
she'll be watching over me, so you can't do anything. And I think that kind of probably
Yeah.
I'll tell you what though, like I had video of myself that whole night, and thankfully I don't see me jumping out of bed from a pinch, so I don't think I experienced it. But
No.
then again, I hit that pillow and I was out, so
I
Yeah.
I'll have to
know.
watch the videos.
Yeah, we did ask Margaret and Bertie if they would watch over Misty while she was sleeping upstairs because she was upstairs alone. Um, and they crossed the dowsing rods for yes um, that they would watch over her. So it was really cool. So
Yeah.
I think um, Kathy, what do you got?
Huh?
What do you got?
Oh, just from the room when we were doing the dowsing rods in the
Yeah,
parlor.
yeah, and
I was more, in tune to, really watching that because I was really, I guess I was surprised, that she did come down and she really communicated. Margaret really did, and then we got Birdie in there, and yeah, I mean that went on for a long time, and that was really amazing. Um, I was sitting at the other end of the parlor, and there's a room behind me that's got drapery back there, but I kept feeling like a presence of somebody back that way. So during that whole time, I kept like turning around, to see, and it didn't feel like it was anything that was threatening. It just felt like somebody was in there, to the side, behind me, to the side back there near that drapery that she had, because I think she's working on a room behind there or something. And,
yeah,
She's
and,
making it a salon, I
it's
think.
her beauty salon. Yeah,
oh, okay. So yeah, and I just kept feeling kind of there's a presence back here, but it was just like watching what we were doing, taking in the room and watching what we were doing. So that's what I had going on back on that side of the room. But yeah, it was really interesting. Like nothing there really felt outside of when Misty had her Estes. I didn't feel anything real, threatening or evil or anything. Um,
No.
I think a lot of it was curious and kind of welcoming too. So, you know, um, it's interesting. I want to go back definitely.
Margaret.
So,
Margaret makes it a point that if she doesn't want you in the area that she's in, that she will make it known. Um,
hmm
and she's very protective over the place, which is awesome in its own right. Um,
hmm
and but that's just the kind of thing. Like just be a little bit mindful. And like I said, I knocked on the door. I knocked on that door and Carolyn's door. I don't know why I knocked on Carolyn's door, but any other room I went in, I never knocked on the door. But I always did. I always needed to
hmm
do it for Margaret. So maybe that's why she did end up coming out and interacting with us more, was because of the giving her that little bit of respect, because it is their home. You know,
Right.
we're there visiting them. Um,
Hmm.
hmm
uh, and then we just kind of incorporated Birdie into it. We didn't single her out, but we were
Yeah.
like, oh, you and Margaret are besties, and stuff like that, and everything. I don't know. It was a great experience.
Oh,
Um,
definitely. Um,
yeah,
I don't know if we were going to talk about the younger's room or
you
not,
can. Yeah,
but
absolutely.
yeah, that was interesting too when we went into the younger's room. Their room is like the floor in there is really it's the original wood floor. It's very small to have what would they would have had maybe four people stay in there. There's a second smaller room which is their bedroom in there. It's like one bed. So it's when you go in there, it's for me what I picked up in there. Um, it's kind of depressing. It's a dark room. There's a smell in there, like the way that I explain the smell is male sweat and old cigar. It that was interesting, but it just felt uh, dark and depressing in there. Um, that's what I felt. I don't really know if that was a presence I was picking up in there, feeling that. It just felt like to me like somebody was mourning or waiting for somebody to return. It had a real stale dark, depressing feeling for me in
And
there. So that's what I got from that room. It
we
just
actually were the first team to be able to investigate that room because previously they had used it for storage.
hmm
Hmm.
I do know when I was doing the walkthrough video tour, I had went in. So the younger room is set up how the big rooms were before they made them into the big rooms that they are. So like when you walk in, it was kind of like a sitting area, and then you walk through another door, and then that was the bed, the bedroom part of it. And you literally from the bed to the wall, you had like 2 feet. Like
yeah.
it's a very small area, and then behind the door was a bathroom. And
Yeah.
when I was in there doing the original walkthrough video, um, I didn't have the door shut all the way. It was kind of around, but I heard a step, and it was almost like, "What are you doing in here?" And so
hmm
I did feel uncomfortable, and I didn't stay in there long. Um, Misty, I don't know, what was your feelings in the younger boys? The younger boys
Um,
The younger boys stayed there with Jesse James. They stayed across the hall from Jesse
hmm
James.
yeah, and I have a feeling even if they were across the hall, they were probably in each other's rooms quite a bit because they probably were telling each other when the sheriff was in town and stuff.
Yeah.
So, I mean, uh, but I don't know. It just felt when you walked in, you felt like it'd be a bunch of guys just sitting around in that room. It really did. It felt like
hmm
maybe I should just go into a different room. It didn't feel quite welcoming, but it didn't feel like you weren't welcome. It just was like, I feel like I walked into a man's den. And
Yeah.
I don't know if I want to be here or not. It's,
Right? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
and
Definitely.
it was like that was the main room, and then you go into their bedroom, and that room I really was uncomfortable in that little room. I didn't want to be in there, so I tried to stay as little bit in that room as I could. It just felt like it was too personal to be in there.
hmm
I don't know. It's those kind of things. Though then again, there was a couple rooms that I literally got kind of pushed out, and rooms that literally wouldn't let me close the door. So that place has a lot of like little boundaries. If you're a person that's sensitive to the boundaries of rooms, that place you will notice it for
hmm
sure.
Yeah, so, and then we didn't get to do the Forgotten Wing because it's not quite done yet, but we will be going back because I know the whole team is wanting to go. And
Yes.
so we'll be going
Mhm.
back. So hopefully when we go back, that is done because I literally just saw pictures a little bit ago that they're getting more of it done. So that is awesome.
Yeah.
Uh,
Mhm.
Now, is
and
the body of water behind there, is that Osage? Is that part of the Osage River
it's a river. I don't know.
back behind? Yeah,
Yeah.
I need a,
I don't.
I mean,
Did she say what river it was? I don't remember.
seeing that's, I
I don't
thought she
remember.
did, but maybe I need to go,
She
I
might
need
have.
to ask her.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It literally is like a
Again,
block away from the hotel. It's super close.
you could see it behind. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that would have a lot of, I think the land up there themselves would go, back to Indian territory and stuff like that as well. So that would be pretty amazing. We didn't go on the grounds, but next time we'll go on the grounds too. So
Yeah.
yeah,
So anyway,
definitely.
um, as you guys can tell at the bottom, this has been recorded Wednesday night, June 10th. We are going to have Rob, I think Rob and Teresa both on the
Cool.
podcast, the Deep Dive podcast, talking about the Haunted Commercial Hotel. So you guys make sure that you guys come in. You guys are getting double dose of the Haunted Commercial Hotel this week. Um, but anyway, yeah. Anything else from the investigation that we didn't hit on that you guys remember?
The door the door that I tried to close when I was upstairs, I was closing every room so that if any of them were open, I would know. And there was one room right by Margaret's room. I almost said Maggie. I don't even want to.
Don't say Maggie.
Yeah. Yes, Carolyn's room. And I went up there and I pulled on it, and it was a little tough to get closed, and I pulled it, and it like literally pulled right out of my hands and opened back up. And I'm like, okay, try it again. I'm keeping this registered that it got pulled out of my hand, but I'm like, I'm gonna try closing it and see what happens. I keep closing it. It keeps getting pulled out of my hand every time. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna try it one more time. Got it, and I had to hold both hands and pull it closed and mess with the knob to get it to close. And it finally clicked. Went downstairs. We went back up, and it was open again.
Oh my goodness, that's right. Yep.
Yeah, you remember? I think you even have you had a moment trying to get it closed because it was tight when you got it closed, right? But
I wonder if it
I
was that cowboy you saw up there
I
messing.
actually I did actually get it to close.
mhm,
And when I would get it closed, it wouldn't come back open again. So I
Mm-hmm.
don't
yeah,
know if it was just messing with Misty or what the deal was, but um,
it literally felt like it was getting pulled away from me, though. That was the weird thing. It wasn't like gravity pull. You know how you close something and it slowly opens. It literally
Mm-hmm.
felt like it was being pulled from my hands, but not like real hard or anything. It was like just pulled a little bit, and I was like, okay, that's weird. I'm gonna clock that. And it was the room right by Margaret's room,
Yeah.
and which is Caroline's room. And of course, we did the Estes in that one with Brenda. So gotta check that out too.
Right. I had that. So the area behind, in the main hallway, under the staircase, there's right now there's like an old stove, and they have the old sandwich boards that they would have walked around and advertised what they were serving that day or something. So, but I think that was originally when it was way back in the 1800s, and that was like a hotel stay as well. But I think that was the check-in area. But there was also, Teresa had mentioned a gentleman that was, what was he, sitting at a poker table or something, and he got shot and he died there, and right there. And they can't prove 100%, but the wood has a stain on it, and they're not sure that, but 100%, but they do want to have it tested that that's original wood there, so it may be like a blood stain or something. But I just felt, I mean, that's a tragic that that happened underneath there. But for me, I felt comfortable, and I kept saying, to me, it felt like a little hideaway area that if I was a little kid, I would have hung out under there with my dolly and played with it, or, some crayons or something. And so I don't know why I was picking up that for that little, but it was like your little quiet little hideaway area that I kept feeling a small child would have played under here, and I felt like I would have played under here as a small child. So that was kind of odd, because then to hear that tragedy of the gentleman that was shot and bled there too, it was like, I didn't pick up that. I picked up small children playing under there. So who knows?
Yeah.
yeah, they said they tried everything to get that stain up,
Uh
um,
huh.
bleach and all that stuff, and they didn't. And I said, "Have you ever had it tested?" And she said, "No." Um, so I don't know if they are or not. They're like, she goes, "We just got tired of it, so we just covered it." And you
Yeah.
can see it. It's actually a pretty um, good sized area. I mean, it's not like 4 feet or anything like that, but it's a pretty
Mm-hmm.
good sized area. Is
It's
what
a
it is. But
it's like a bloom of stain, if that makes
Yeah.
sense. So it looks like either something was spilled there and left there for a long time,
mhm.
or
Right.
yeah, it just the way it's patterned, it doesn't look like it would be, especially where it is, it doesn't look like it's something you would accidentally leave,
Right,
if that makes
right.
sense. If it makes sense.
But
Yeah.
originally, didn't she say that there was floor built on top of it because they removed everything back down to the original floor?
I think
Huh?
that was the floor down in the basement where the
No, because remember
kitchen used to be too.
on the banister railing. Remember, she said that's where the floor used to be, and you can tell how much.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. She did say that, but I know the floor downstairs was also layered as well
That was
because they did.
layered.
Yeah, it was both the top and bottom floor was layered. But
So,
yeah, it was a good like that. I think that high up on the banister.
so
So
Mm-hmm.
the owners over the years, when they put in that new flooring, I mean, that stain just stayed,
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and it was covered up, and then whoever, all the other owners that I had it or whatever, they didn't know about it because it was already covered up, and then they
Right.
took it back because of the history, and now it's visible again. So
And I could have been picking up, my thought about a child playing under there from a different time too. I mean, that's a
Mhm.
very old building, um, with a lot of history.
yeah, it's not the original hotel that was built there because that one burned down. But
Right.
that building has been there since 1903, I believe, is what's on the plaque
Mm-hmm.
that's in the picture behind us. 1903, I think. Um, and yeah, and it's screaming 1903. It's a
Mm-hmm.
really cool building.
Yeah. It's a beautiful place.
Mhm.
With
Yeah,
lots of history. So I love the history.
they've
Definitely.
really made the place a beautiful place to stay as well.
Yeah, and if you just really wanted to get away, but you kind of wanted the historical feel, like how it would have been, back in the 1800s or 19, like early 1900s, like that definitely is the place to go because you
Definitely.
Hmm.
get that feel, especially if you got an upstairs room,
Yeah.
you would get that feel for sure.
Mhm.
So, but anyway, all right. Any last words, ladies?
Sorry, I wiggled around a whole lot. I'm being lazy today. I don't actually have my my device on anything that's stabilizing it.
No worries.
I'm being lazy today. My dog's in my lap, and I'm just
No worries. All right,
Yeah.
guys. Go
yeah.
ahead.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. We will see you guys next time on Deep Dive Hunts.
Yeah.
Have a great week.
Bye.
Bye.